evening, everybody, and welcome to the Inside Groove right here on Northwest Access TV. I am your host, Nick Mumley, and alongside me, as usual, Dustin Tanner. And we have a interesting show for you guys today here on Northwest Access TV, as for the very first time in our history, and for the first time in a really long time, it's a Monday night NASCAR race on FS1. Right now, the race is still going on in stage number 3. So what we're going to do is a little bit different than what we usually do for our show. Usually we're going to, go through with a newscast style, just pumping out the week's worth of news. And as Dustin reacts to it right now, we're going to be watching the race with you guys. So if you guys want to see our live reaction to what is happening with the FireKeepers 400 at Michigan, just tune in here and we'll take you through it while talking about some of the busiest topics of the week. Dustin, before we react to what just happened here in the race, which is a pretty major development.
Yes, it is.
I would like to thank our sponsors for helping us out for tonight's show. First one, Handy GMC Buick Cadillac in St. Albans, the North Country's #1 GM dealership for over 3 generations. They are awesome down there in their St. Albans location right next to Walmart. Visit them online at handygmc.com or their St. Albans location. And we have a new sponsor this week. Just figured things out today with my good buddy Caden TeBurge and his business, TeBurge Beef. Really good, high quality beef products, Vermont local products that are really, really great, and they're at affordable prices too. Visit them on Facebook or give Caden a call at 802-782-2281. So let's jump right into it.
Caden can hook me up with some beef.
Oh, he definitely can, and it's good stuff too.
Yeah, it's good stuff. Locally good stuff. So for those who are watching at home, just tuning in. So yesterday's Michigan race, which we were going to talk about today at 7 o'clock, got moved to today at 5 o'clock. So Nick and I have been at the studio for about 2 hours watching the race. And as we walk in here and start the show, Eric Jones gets into Clint Boyer, sends defending race champion of this race last year, Clint Boyer, into the wall. And if you heard him go, oof, it was because he hit the wall, came back out and hit the wall again.
Yeah, backed into the wall. And if you see right here, Zach, if you want to give it a pan on the camera, our diecast of the week is the winning car from last year's year's race. Actually autographed by Clint Boyer, his Michigan race win from last year. Figured that it would be a good week to bring it on the show with the Michigan race this week. One more announcement though before, as we are in commercial break for the Clint Boyer and Eric Jones cleanup. The Inside Groove is now on Facebook.
We are. Like our Facebook page.
We have been on Twitter pretty much since the show began. And I'll be honest with you, I haven't been good enough at keeping up with things on social media. And my new goal now that we bring sponsorship to this show, I think I owe it to our sponsors and I owe it to the people who watch this show every week to bring more content onto social media. So we have a Facebook page. Go like us. It's just our name, The Inside Groove on Northwest Access TV. We'll be streaming. If you might be watching the stream today on our page, we've got the stream from Northwest Access TV connected to the Inside Groove's Facebook page. So if you want to watch that, we'll put clips up of the show throughout the week, just discussion, questions, and we'll be putting up a few blog posts here and there. Me and Dustin will hopefully be
putting up a few blog
posts. Dustin maybe not, but
Nick, you forget that I am the Stu Gotts of this show. I come in, I do my content, I spew my takes, and I go home. That is what I do. I'm putting absolutely no extra effort into this. I'm not even watching the races anymore. I don't even know who the drivers are. Who is Clint Boyer? I have no idea. It's just a name I saw on my screen.
Yes. Yes, Dustin is helping too. But yeah, we're working on making the Inside Groove bigger and bigger each week. We are also now online. We have our own website, so go give us a visit there on Inside Groove, www.insidegroovetv.com. Go check us out. You can go on there, check out full show rewinds. I'm working on putting some audio podcast versions of the full show, show clips, stuff like that. You can look and see information about me and Dustin, and go visit our sponsors as well. So go visit us, www.insidegroovetv.com. So the Michigan race so far has been pretty interesting. Dustin, I think that this has been the best Michigan race we've seen in a really long time. The cars are a lot closer, and I think that's what they were looking for with the
I'd say it's
package.
like Daytona's cousin right now, Daytona or Talladega's cousin. It's been one of those races where the racing has been pretty close. First, our first actual wreck, I don't count Kyle Weatherman wrecking. So, I mean, I do, but I don't. It's one of those things where, Kyle Weatherman just, in the underfunded cars, you can't really control them
tough.
as well.
Yep.
So he wrecked earlier on, and then Clint Boyer just wrecked, and not a great day to be Clint Boyer, but
no, and
that actually feeds into another one of our discussion
feeds into
topics.
one of our topics here. Clint Boyer, we've talked about it. Adam Stern released over the course of the week, I believe on last Monday, saying Clint Boyer, Stuart Haas has 3 of their 4 teams with contracts up after this season. Eric Almirola, his sponsor Smithfield's definitely up. The driver contract probably is as well. You'd assume that he rolls with the contract of Smithfield.
Well, we don't. So it's interesting because Smithfield wasn't allowed to break with RPM and go directly with Eric, so they had to sweeten the deal a little bit. So Smithfield, I'm not sure if Smithfield's contract is, I think Eric might have had a 3-year contract. I thought he had an extra year. We don't know.
We don't know the details. They don't put out contracts in NASCAR, which is another frustrating thing for media, for us in the media, because it would be really cool to see winnings, how much these drivers make per race, per position. That NASCAR hid that a couple of years back in contracts. Nobody really releases contract terms either, which would be and that would be just so fascinating to see. Who is the highest paid driver in NASCAR? Which sponsor puts forth the most amount of money per race or per season to be on these cars? So how much do these sponsors pay to get their name? How much does FireKeepers casinos pay to sponsor the Michigan race? That's stuff that would all be super interesting to see.
It's stuff that fans would like as we're going back to green here with
67 to go.
With 67 to go. Not a nice amount of the race left. The Busch car and the Truex car.
Hopefully we get this thing done before we're off there, so we can.
I don't know.
We
might have to I might have to sit in the parking lot for 10 minutes and watch the rest of this race.
But anyway, getting back to it here, we do know that Daniel Suarez his contract is up.
His contract is up.
We do know that Clint Boyer's contract is up as well. The driver of the 14, just crashing here in the last couple of laps, and the problem is at Stuart Haas is that they have arguably the top prospect in the NASCAR Xfinity Series.
Do you think Cole Custer is a top prospect?
Absolutely.
I disagree.
22 years old.
Hard pass.
22 years old.
I like Tyler Reddick more.
Man, Reddick has been good this year, and he's shown that he can do it in the Cup Series, but I think Cole Custer is right. I think Cole Custer is right there. I think it's really a toss-up right now among these 3 Xfinity guys that we've talked about all season long. Is it looks like Joey Logano puts the bumper.
Joey Logano moves Kyle Larson in front of Kevin Harvick, and then moves
Austin Dillon in the wall.
Austin Dillon in the wall.
So
he
we have
ate the real 3.
Okay. Raise hell.
Plays Dale. Raise hell. Raise hell. Plays Dale. I don't know how it goes.
So
So again, like we said, Nick and I are watching the race live, so our show is going to be quite different than what we normally do.
It's it's going to be more of a reaction with just kind of discussion.
We're gonna have a lot of that
rather
today.
Rather
we went
than
from having
hard
no
topics.
cautions to having 2 cautions right back to back. Buddy.
As Larry Mack so gently puts it, every single race, cautions breed cautions.
Look at that move that Kyle Larson is. Kyle Larson gets down, gets pushed by Logano.
Larson
and
takes a low line in.
slides.
Logano gets a really good run. Logano hit the apex of the corner. Larson didn't. And
Larson got pushed in that corner, and then Austin Dillon.
It looks like he's going to get hit by Byron here.
Get some help from computer boy William Bryan.
Byron hits him, and Dillon puts the back end of the wall and then smacks it again. So a couple of hard hits there for Dillon. I think that car is still going to be runnable. If you want to watch this race,
tune in to Fox Sports 1 now. That's where you can find it. That's where we're getting the content from.
So watch Fox Sports 1 on your TV.
And then watch us on your laptop.
Take out your laptop, mobile phone, go to Northwest Access TV's Facebook page or the Inside Groove Facebook page, and watch us there. We'll be reacting live to it. So as the race stands, less than 65 laps to go in this one. Austin Dillon in the wall for the third non-stage break caution of the race.
So let's go back to talking about the Haas conversation. You know, Daniel Suarez's contract's up at the end of the year. Eric Almirola, we don't know what his sponsor is, Clint Boyer. And you say that Cole Custer is the best prospect. I don't necessarily know if I agree with you there. I think he's the third best prospect behind Reddick, Bell, and then Custer. But we haven't heard anything about if Cole Custer is going to have a seat next year. Now, Clint Boyer had said, it's a lot of tape. Clint Boyer had said that he feels like he's not worried about it because of the natural fit at Stewart-Haas.
And I think there is a natural fit there. Yeah, I mean, Tony Stewart, obviously the 14 is Tony Stewart's number, Tony Stewart's car, unless you want to go back and give the number to AJ Foyt, which is also fair. But in NASCAR, 14 is Tony Stewart's, and I think that you need, your kind of wild, aggressive, big personality driver in there. You don't want to put a mild-mannered Cole Custer behind the wheel of the 14. I don't think Tony Stewart wants that, even though Joe Custer, Cole's dad, is the president of Stewart-Haas Racing and the CEO of the Haas F1 program. So obviously, Cole Custer will be in a Haas-sponsored car at the Cup level at some point sooner rather than later. I can't see him sticking around in another season.
Well, I wonder because, they have two drivers down there. They have Chase Briscoe and Cole Custer, and Chase Briscoe is probably not going to be
Briscoe,
there for much longer.
I think, Chase Briscoe is very talented. He's got the potential. I don't know how much longer he lasts for Stewart-Haas, though.
And then we go back to that Daniel Suarez. Suarez is interesting because he got kind of dumped last year by Joe Gibbs.
Right.
Does he get dumped again this year by Stewart-Haas?
Daniel Suarez? I don't think there's any way. Because I think that he's put up pretty good results this year. He's having the best year of his career. He's led laps. He's well inside the playoffs right now. His average finish is up almost 5 spots. I think he's doing really well. He's not running as well as Eric Almirola did in his first season, but he's running better than Clint Boyer did in his first season in the 14. And I think the marketability of Daniel Suarez and the sponsorship that Daniel Suarez brings are big components, because Stewart-Haas isn't a team outside of Kevin Harvick. They don't have full sponsorship.
Well, outside of Eric Almirola.
Outside of Harvick and Almirola. I mean, they have Busch Beer, they have Smithfield Foods and Jimmy John's. Those are their 3 main sponsors, but those are for just 2 of their cars.
If you're getting Mobil 1 puts a lot of money. Nick, did you do any of your homework? Are you Stugatzing me here?
Mobil 1 puts a decent amount in.
Rush Truck Centers.
I wouldn't, but those aren't massive. Those are 5 to 10 races a year. I would say for
current year NASCAR, that's pretty big. I think, and this is another question, what do you define as big in current year NASCAR? I think if you cover over 6 races, I think that's a big sponsorship.
I would consider half season and up as big sponsorship dollars, enough to keep your team afloat. You look at Bubba Wallace. I mean, they've got what half season sponsorship from, they had Worldwide Technologies on there for half the season, and then other than that, it was Petty's Garage or whatnot.
No Petty's Garage scheme this year,
right? But they didn't have enough money to stay afloat with the half season sponsorship that they got, which was overall combined. Boyer doesn't get the full season. Boyer has about half the races in the Haas car, half the races with about 5 or 6 different sponsors that he runs throughout the year that are in for 1 or 2 races. And I think that makes him vulnerable because out of those 4 drivers in the Stewart-Haas camp, he has the least amount of sponsorship. We see Daniel Suarez running the Haas car quite a bit this year. You got to remember, Eris is coming over, you would assume, for at least a big chunk of 2020. And I think that's got to be really enticing for Stewart-Haas Racing to say, okay, we can now have 3 cars with almost full season sponsorship, all 36 races. And I think that's big once Eris is able to break away from Joe Gibbs Racing.
But then again, once again, Gene Haas does like running the Haas scheme for about half the year. He likes having his name on these cars. So it's interesting to me. I don't know. I think Cole Custer ends up at a satellite next year. I really do.
I think that the chances of that happening are pretty good. I think it's I think the only driver that you can move out of Stewart-Haas Racing at this moment is Clint Bowyer, but I don't think
Clint
you
Bowyer
do.
is such a fit.
Boyer's such a good fit there, and I think Tony Stewart wants Clint Bowyer driving this car. I think Bowyer is in there more of an old time. The owner wants this guy driving the car more than this guy brings sponsorship. I think that's fairly obvious, and I don't think Boyer's headed anywhere. I think honestly, what we're going to see with Cole Custer is him sticking around with Stewart-Haas Racing satellite program. We talked about it last week. Do they bring in Go Fast Racing as a satellite, or one of these other Ford teams? There's a bunch of Ford teams that are running, these backmarking teams that are running the Ford Blue Oval. So Stewart-Haas has a lot of options here. I think you stick Cole Custer in that car for 1 or 2 years, then when Kevin Harvick's ready to retire. And I think this year we are seeing the start to the
well, I think you look at Kevin Harvick and Clint Bowyer, and one of those two, one of those guys can have maybe a two year deal after this, and then they will leave soon. So that's where Custer and Briscoe fit in.
Right.
But there are some other drivers. We haven't talked about Kyle Larson yet, and we're about to go back to green here. They give him the 1 to go,
60 laps to go.
Let's talk about Chip Ganassi Racing.
Yes, and we've and so Kyle Larson potentially could be on the move in 2020. A lot of speculation. It is still early June, but the summer is underway. This is when all the movement starts to happen. Earlier and earlier every year, we start to hear about where these drivers and sponsors and teams are going to go for the following season. And it's starting to pick up now that we're about halfway through the year. NBC is the TV coverage changing to NBC in, I believe, 2 or 3 weeks. So we're about halfway through. Daytona's coming up in less than a month, and we're going to go and things are going to start heating up. Chip Ganassi Racing released, it was reported over the last week that Kurt Busch is interested in coming back to Chip Ganassi Racing, which kind of puts a shakeup in what seemed to be kind of concrete plans for them in the future, because they still have Ross Chastain under their employ. Chastain running in the Xfinity Series and just announced he's running for Truck Points this last week and did really well at Texas, almost pulled off the win at Texas on Friday night. We'll get to that in a little bit.
At some point as we do our watch along here of the last 60 laps.
But so Kurt Busch, he was supposed to retire. And
he's having such a good year.
He's having such a good year that I don't blame him. He wants to come back.
He had a good year last year, and now he's having another good year. It's back-to-back good years.
He's running the best races of his career.
If I am top 10 in points, why do I walk out? Why do I say, if I'm top 10 in points of a sponsor year to year, why do I say I want to retire? I don't think he does. I think he's the best driver.
And Kurt Busch brings big sponsorship money here. As we restart, Busch makes the big move to the inside. They go 3 wide into one.
That's not gonna work.
They stack up. Jim. Busch is up to 3rd. There you go, Tony Romo.
Oh, Jim.
You got Logano and Harvick side by side down the back stretch. Kurt Busch falling back to 4th. Kyle Larson moving ahead of him. So Larson now pushing Harvick into turn 3 for the lead. So Kyle Larson, Kurt Busch, I think, and this is an interesting discussion for me. I think Kurt Busch is almost more valuable to Chip Ganassi Racing than Kyle Larson is right now.
I agree. I think Kurt Busch,
which is interesting because we talk all the time about how this is like the Brett Moffitt, Johnny Sauter discussion all over again. Kurt Busch is older, but he's just running better right now.
I think Kurt Busch is a champion too. I think part of what you bring in, that Eric Jones boy is coming down pit road. He's got a flat tire.
Yeah.
It looks like the 37 just hit the wall. Chris Buescher. Oh man, this is some good pack racing. FS1 58 go if you want to watch us talk about it. No, I think when you look at Suarez is 5th. If you look at this sport and you look at the things that Kurt Busch has done, Kurt Busch is the king of driving bad cars good.
Right.
And he has been able to bring this Chip Ganassi team a little more speed that they didn't have from last year, I think he's going to be, I think he should stick around for a couple of years. What does that do?
But that means that I don't see Chip Ganassi going to a 3rd car.
Unless they can get some sponsorship.
Unless they get major sponsorship. And
Ross Chastain ain't bringing that. And Kyle Larson is interesting.
And it's going to be interesting because you've got probably two of the most talented drivers in the garage area, which is Ross Chastain, Kyle Larson. But they're the two most talented drivers without any sponsorship money. And so that makes things tough. I think that it's almost like a Brad Keselowski situation at Hendrick in 2009. Do you go with Mark Martin, who almost won the championship, or do you go with the hot shot Brad Keselowski? This is a tough decision to make, and it kind of came back and bit Rick Hendrick, even though Mark Martin was really good for another year after that in the 5. Do you go with Kurt Busch over having two of the most talented drivers? Do you take the money from Kurt Busch and have Kurt Busch run top 10 in points? Or do you go broke with probably the two most talented drivers in the garage outside of probably Logano, Kyle Busch?
I think you gotta take Kurt Busch. I think, and I don't know how much of the sponsorship that Kyle Larson brings is tied to him, you know? Right. So I think you have to go with the Kurt Busch, the proven commodity, the proven paycheck. You know, he's very good. Kyle Larson, you know, we don't even know if Kyle Larson is going to want to re-sign with Chip Ganassi Racing. Rumor on the street is that he's going to head to a single car team that has an alliance with a bigger team. The only team that's like that right now would be Wood Brothers.
Yep.
And I don't know if Paul Menard's going to leave. There's a lot of rumors about Kyle Larson going around right now.
Yeah,
so it's going to be interesting to see what Larson does, because from what I have read, from what I have seen, once the Kyle Larson shoe falls, well, that's one shoe. That's the one shoe where once Kyle Larson figures out where he is next year,
right? Kyle Larson,
everything comes into place.
Kyle Larson is the Kyrie Irving of this year's free agency for NASCAR. So I think, I think Kyle Larson.
Also,
I think the decision's going to be made.
Awful analogy. Kevin Durant is the
Kevin Durant, sure, go for it.
He's the second best player in the league.
We're not talking basketball.
No, you shut up. Your take is bad.
Wow. This is an anti-basketball show. We are as anti-basketball as we are anti-Tyler
Reddick. I like
Reddick.
basketball. You are anti-Tyler Reddick, and you are anti-basketball. And Bubba Wallace is running top 15.
There you go.
Good day for Dustin Tanner.
So, yeah, I think Kyle Larson, I think this decision is going to be made for Chip Ganassi. I think Kyle Larson's going to move.
I think he's going to too.
I think that he is kind of starting to realize, he had that taste of success in like 2017, I believe it was. And since then, things have not really gone all that great for him. His career hasn't taken off like it was expected to. He lost that Target sponsorship, and I think that's been a big issue with him. Not running in the back. I think you put him in that Wood Brothers car. That would be such a good fit, because Kyle Larson. Oh, Bubba Wallace
just blew an engine.
Dustin, you jinxed him. We're not announcing the race, but you just gave him the announcer's jinx.
Oh,
52 laps to go. Hey, watch yourself. So Bubba Wallace blows an engine with 52 laps to go. Kevin Harvick, Joey Logano.
Thanks, I hate it.
For the lead, and Dustin is throwing a temper tantrum in the corner.
Right rear is coming apart. That's right. The right rear came apart. It wasn't a blown engine.
Not a blown
2 laps
engine,
down. I hate NASCAR. NASCAR's dumb. Let's talk about football. OTAs.
No.
Just didn't know?
No.
Oh,
you will never catch me talking about football in the summer, or especially the early summer. What's wrong with you?
Well, my driver just got eliminated from this race. That sucks.
Yeah, well.
Now I got to watch Joey Logano drive away for 51 laps.
Well,
Nick.
Kurt Busch is in second, so it's not a lost cause yet. But no, I think Kyle Larson in the Wood Brothers car would be such a cool fit.
So Bubba Wallace goes up, he gets loose. Oh, he loses it. The right rear comes apart for Bubba.
Yep. Goodbye.
Unfortunate. He was having a good run.
But anyway, getting back to my point for the third time, Kyle Larson is an old school racer.
Yes.
He's a dirt track guy. He's just so talented. Runs 15 races a week. He's going to have 10,000 races before Denny Hamlin does.
Denny Hamlin's already at 10,000 races.
Yeah, that's true. But no, and Wood Brothers, obviously the throwback team to NASCAR, the oldest team around. They've been around since the sport came around. Based out of Martinsville, which is NASCAR's oldest track. Everything about them just screams throwback. And I think Kyle Larson would be a great fit there. They've got that steady sponsorship in there that's going to be there no matter what driver's in the car. And I think that Larson would be a perfect fit there. I think he could be the driver that returns them to the place that they were going with Ryan Blaney before Blaney got called back to the mothership at Penske.
Yeah, I would agree with that. It's one of those things where I'm saying, it's one of those things as I don't know.
Are you okay?
I don't know. You see this is part of the electric chair that is so much fun. Is that
Dustin's just deflated now?
I am so deflated. That was Bubba Wallace.
Hey, what about Chris Buescher? Chris Buescher's running 7th.
Don't say anything. He's gonna hit the wall if you say anything.
Oh, Fox
we're going
cuts
Fox side by side. All right, Toyota commercial. Anyway, back to Paul Menard. It's interesting because the Wood brothers get so much sponsorship because about half their sponsorship comes from Ford at this point, the sponsors that they bring in. The other half comes from Paul Menard. I don't want to see Paul Menard leave the sport because, yes, they were trending upward with Ryan Blaney, but money-wise, I think the Wood brothers is in the best shape they've ever been in,
Yeah, that's true, with Menard bringing that sponsorship money. And Menard's not running.
It's a Penske car. He's not running bad.
He's not running terribly in it. But I think there is the question, how much longer does Paul Menard race?
And that's an interesting thing.
He hasn't won a race in almost 10 years now. And he's got one career victory. Doesn't that make you feel weird? It's been almost 10 years since 2011 in Paul Menard's Brickyard victory. One of the coolest upsets in NASCAR history.
This dude has had it's interesting to me that this dude has had so much money for so long and hasn't lucked into a couple of other races. You would think by now, like at a track like Michigan or at a track like Kansas, he would have lucked into a win or two, but money talks. He's had a very good year money-wise, and I think it's one of those things where not money-wise, career money-wise. His father is funding multiple, his father is funding funding half of the sport. He's funding ARCA, like
IndyCar, literally the ARCA series.
The Indy 500 champion. So, John Menard's paying a lot of money right now.
Which they actually made money on with the Indy 500 sponsorship.
It's interesting to me to see how much longer Menard wants to stay around, but I'd love to see someone like Kyle Larson over there. But then again, there's another thing. Where does Kyle Larson go? Because right now, he's got a lot of places. He's got a lot of chances to go. Chase Elliott is slow. There you go. There you go. Revenge.
So Dustin's driver, Bubba Wallace, blows a tire. Chase Elliott's down on pit road now with 45 laps to go.
With a flat tire.
Looks like he's got a flat. Looks like he smacked the wall with the right rear there. So tough break for Chase Elliott as well, but I will rub it in your face. Chase Elliott does have a win this year. So.
Chase Elliott runs for the best team in the garage, and he only has
come on. Win. There's no way Hendrick is the best team.
Hendrick used to be the best Chevy team in the garage.
That's like saying Roush is the best team in the garage because they were really good in 2005.
Well, I mean, Roush doesn't get credit for being good anymore because Roush sucks.
Wow. Way to hold back.
Trash. All right, you know what? My guy is outrunning Clint Boyer, so I'm going to take that as a win.
We've talked about
my guy is outrunning Stuart Haas Racing.
You can't hide it. Clint Boyer is out of the race. We've talked about it already.
Oh, Chase Elliott goes a lap down.
So 44 laps to go. Race update here at Michigan. We are, if you've tuned into just a bunch of straight nonsense, we are live reacting to the FireKeepers Casino 400 as it happens because
Chase Elliott just lost it. Nobody helped him. He just ran a little too close.
He was intimidated. Kyle Busch was behind him. He got scared. Probably the first time I can ever remember a race being run this late, other than Michigan 2007. When the race got run on a Tuesday. Do you remember that?
I do remember that.
And they raced they raced like in a deep fog just because they were like, we need to get this race in.
That was such a weird race.
I was 8, but I remember that. That was when they raced all the Chevys looked like the old Bel Airs.
Speaking of Chevys looking like Bel Airs, there's a lot of cars. There's a pack of cars that are wadded up.
How does that compare? Who looks like a Bel Air in there? And there's only one Chevy.
It's Daniel Hemrick.
Daniel Hemrick. Daniel Hemrick almost got
Daniel Hemrick's in the top 10 right now.
He has talent. He's had a bad start to the season.
Danny Hemrick, Chris Buescher. Suarez is in 5th. We're having some good underdog days here.
Can you consider Chris Buescher an underdog right now? He has been top 10 just about every race this year.
JTG has spent a lot of money on trying to make their program better, and I think that you are seeing it with Chris Buescher. I would love to see Bubba Wallace.
That car is in its 3rd year now, that 37 team. I think Chris Buescher is not only the best driver at JTG Darty, I think he's better than a couple of guys.
I think Chris Buescher's a top 15 driver. I really do.
I think he's better. I'm going to go out on a limb and say Chris Buescher is better than Jimmy Johnson and William Byron.
Yeah, that's fair right now. Yeah. Not prime Jimmy Johnson, obviously. Nobody's better
Jimmy
than prime Jimmy Johnson.
Jimmy Johnson wrecking twice on pit road in this race. Just
Jimmy.
It's sad because it's clear that
like watching Brett Favre towards the end of his career.
Right, it's like watching New York Jets Brett Favre.
Yes, New York Jets.
Or like last year of Minnesota Vikings Brett Favre. He did have. Remember when Brett Favre had like that really, really good year with the Vikings out of nowhere, and then threw like the interception that cost them a trip to the Super Bowl.
All right, no, that's.
You just got me. You got me to talk football.
Yeah, you talk football. I win. Zach, how's your coffee back there? Good, delicious.
Studio producer Zach, as usual, doing a great job with his coffee back there.
He's
Zach,
dealing with us today.
Drinking coffee at 7:30 p.m.
We are a lot to deal with.
Have fun being up all night there, Zachary.
Oh, he'll be to bed by any time soon.
So 40 laps to go. We got a half an hour left in the show here.
Let's talk about another race. Let's talk about your which race. Let's spin the magic creative content.
We're gonna go.
Race from me.
We're going to go to the lower series of stock car racing before we go to Canada with the F1. And a driver that I'm really impressed with, a young driver, Hailie Deegan, daughter of Brian Deegan, very good motocross and just extreme sports. Anything that is considered an extreme sport that also has a motor, Brian Deegan's very good at it. And boy, she has just really got things figured out right now in the K&N series as Alex Bowman makes a pass on Kyle Busch for 8th place.
Yeah.
So she wins in Colorado, her second career win in the K&N series. Both of them have come off of bump and runs. One of them, I believe, was in Idaho, the other one in Colorado. So just two completely random places for Hailie Deegan to get 2 wins, but very good races nonetheless. She punts her teammate on the last lap.
Okay, I don't like that one. I do not like you saying she punts her teammate because her teammate
cut down on her.
Her teammate cuts down on her
after running her up the track.
I think it's pretty clear in this race that Hailie Deegan has the fastest car.
Right.
For those who don't know, so Hailie Deegan, daughter of Brian Deegan, 17 years old, has won 3 K&N races now. Like,
very well. We all had. If you remember back to like 2006, all of this same hype was around Danica Patrick in IndyCar. It was, she was going to be the female that became the first woman winner in NASCAR. She won an IndyCar race, came over to NASCAR, and was just. Well, nothing short of a giant failure in one of the top rides in the garage. Hailie Deegan is in a very similar position right now, but man, I want to look past all the hype and say that she is a future superstar in this sport. Because
I think the way she handles herself, I think she's a future star in this sport. I think she's one of those people who. Oh, we got some damage from...
David Reagan ran somebody over.
No, Front Row Motorsports going. So did he run over his teammate?
Of course he did.
I hate Front Row Motorsports.
Front Row Motorsports declined our request for an interview, so...
They did, and it's like, oh yeah, buddy.
That's what you get for not coming on the inside groove there, David Reagan.
It's just one of those things where they run 3 cars, because why run 2 cars in the back half of the field when you can run 3? So Hailie Deegan... I think is going to be a really young start. I think she's going to be in a Toyota truck next year.
What if Hailie Deegan goes to Front Row Motorsports? Would you become a fan of them? You'd hate her.
I'd hate her. On principle. It's called principle.
No, she has that sponsorship for Monster. As soon as Kurt Busch retires, Monster's going to go with her to the Cup Series. Yeah.
It's one of those things where Hailie's coming up the pipeline. So Derek Kraus, her teammate.
Very good. Derek Kraus, another talented
Very good.
driver.
Has Napa backing. Very good. Yep. So on the restart where Hailie Deegan's been the fastest car there all day, comes up, dive bombs the corner, goes in the corner, pushes Deegan up the track. So they come back around, and then Deegan, and then Derek Kraus, and this is what I hate about Derek Kraus this weekend. He says, oh, she put her car 15 car lengths deep. No, she did not. She moved you out of the way because you moved her out of the way.
Right.
And if you have a problem
old school
with that,
racing,
don't move her out of the way.
Right.
If you are not ready to get bumped, to get moved, do not do that. So Hailie Deegan moves him, and I'm fine with it. And she wins her 3rd race of the year, and I think she's going to be a rock star. It's good to have a young female talent in this sport that might have a chance to be good. We have a couple now where Natalie Decker...
She seems like I feel like Natalie Decker is destined for a back marker ride for multiple years in NASCAR. I think she's going to make a good career for herself.
I don't know what her funding is, but I feel Paul Menard. When I look at Natalie Decker, I see Paul Menard.
That's interesting.
I see somebody who is.
I get what you're saying, though.
But she was having a top 15 truck run, and then she got taken out on Friday, and we'll talk about that race here in a bit. But no, I think Hailie Deegan will be in a Kyle Busch Motorsports truck at some point next year, maybe the 51 for a couple races. I'm not sure when she turns 18, but take that out of context. That doesn't sound good. But she's 17 years old and is already winning races. Like, she's going to be a star. She's going to win a lot of races.
Very talented. 2 wins already in the K&N series. I think, I'm not sure if she's running ARCA at all this year. I don't think
she ran a couple ARCA races. She ran one up at, I want to say the fairgrounds, not the fairgrounds. She ran at Pocono. That was her first Super Speedway. race. So she ran at Pocono, did well. I think she's run 2 ARCA races. So she is working her way up the ladder and running some of these races this year, and that'll be good for her.
Right. And I agree with you. I think that next year we're going to see her run most of the ARCA schedule, most of the trucks, and about half and half ARCA.
I think 10 truck races next year.
10 truck races, yeah. Her. I mean, that sounds about right. And then the year after that, she'll be her age 19 season. She'll be truck full time, and then
that's some Kevin LePage action there. Oh boy,
R.I.P. Well, not R.I.P. Kevin LePage, but goodness,
gone but not forgotten.
Yeah.
Another thing,
and then
just to put the Hailie Deegan stuff in perspective, we're talking about this kid like she's going to turn 18 and she's going to be, working her way up the ladder. Remember when Kyle Busch was in a Cup car at 18?
Yeah.
Do you think we see that again anytime soon?
No.
I don't think we see it again in a while.
No, I think people have taken the message from people like Joey Logano. I think Joey Logano is the perfect analogy for this, or perfect example for why you don't put somebody in the car early. Because look at Joey Logano's first 5 or so years in Cup. It looked like he was the next Casey Atwood.
There's a name I haven't heard in a while, Casey Atwood.
Casey Atwood's one of my favorite names in the history of the sport, just because of, this is like to put a basketball reference in here. This is like Zion Williamson. If Zion Williamson was all of a sudden just trash and was out of the NBA within 2 years. Big piece of trash on Martin Truex's car right there. Oh, and it blows off, so he gets lucky. But Atwood, one of the top prospects, got full backing from Dodge for the 2001 season, won a bunch of Xfinity races in an underfunded team, and then was regarded as the top prospect in NASCAR. People were calling this kid the next Jeff Gordon. He goes to Evernham Racing for the first Dodge season, teammates with Bill Elliott, and he sucked. Just 30th place finishes across the board, finished 30th in points, and then got fired from Evernham after 1 year, went and ran for an underfunded team in 2002, didn't do anything better, and was out of the sport by 2004. Yep. So, and I think that's a cautionary tale. And I think Joey Logano is the same way. Logano wasn't any good in his first 5 or so years till he got fired from Joe Gibbs Racing, went to Team Penske, and Roger Penske has groomed him into the now Cup Series champion.
He's a champion with a chance to go back-to-back. And guess how old Joey Logano is?
Still under 30.
He's still under 30. This guy, the prime age for a driver is 40. So Joey Logano already has a championship. Joey Logano is a guy who could win maybe 1 or 2 more championships and go down as maybe one of the best drivers in NASCAR history.
Yeah. And 4 years ago, this kid, people were saying looks like a bust as Kyle Larson.
It's time for green flag pit stops, baby.
27 laps to go. We've got 20 minutes for the show here.
Will they get this race in before we end the show?
I don't think so.
Are we allowed to do our fantasy picks? Wait.
We
do
you have our fantasy
picks live from Michigan?
Yeah, let's take a look and see who we
Who's having a good day?
Probably not me. So I had Kyle Busch, who has not been great. Keselowski, Logano.
Damn it!
I had Logano, which is good. You got Kevin Harvick though, and I had Clint Bowyer, Chase Elliott. So I guess I'm.
Kevin Harvick's coming to the pit now as we are into the field of green flag pit stops.
You had Truex Jr., Eric Jones, Ryan Blaney,
that Jones boy,
Kevin Harvick, Kurt Busch, who's running really well, and Paul Menard.
I might actually beat you this week.
Yeah, but I think if we do get our fantasy picks in here for what's next week.
No, off weekend next weekend.
Oh, yeah, it is an off weekend.
So we don't have to do our picks.
I forget about that. And then it's Sonoma 2 weeks out.
Yes, Sonoma.
Sonoma's always a fun race. I feel like I haven't gotten a chance to watch it in like 5 or so years.
Interesting strategy here. Ryan Blaney going with right sides, Kevin Harvick going with left sides. We'll see what Joey Logano does. Logano comes in from the lead, brings Kurt Busch, Martin Truex, Chris Buescher with him, and he's also going to bring Almirola. This will be everybody else in the top 5.
Yeah.
So this is going to be your race off pit road to watch, because if Kurt Busch can win this race off pit road, he could win this race. We'll see what he does.
So Truex is on there on the right side.
Right sides for Busch.
See if they come
Truex
around. No, right side's only for Truex. Right side's only for Kurt Busch. Logano.
Just doing right sides.
Just getting right sides only. So a lot of just right 2-tire stops here with 25 laps left.
And Truex is going to...
Logano wins the race off of pit road for those guys, and Truex and Kurt Busch.
Not a good stop for Kurt Busch as Daniel Suarez
comes in from the lead. 25 laps to go. If you're just tuning in, and for the second time today, I'll use the word, if you're watching absolute nonsense, we are watching the FireKeepers Casino 400 live, because it is the first time in a very long time that NASCAR has run a race on a Monday evening. And if you're wondering why they're doing it, I know there's a lot of NASCAR fans coming out of their mountain hillside homes.
You can call them Hick Sheds. It's okay.
Hick Sheds.
Hick Sheds.
Why is NASCAR running this race at 5 p.m. on a Monday? And it's because Fox Sports 1 had soccer coverage all day today. So the Women's World Cup, obviously going on right now. Go Team USA. They just got done that at 5. So that was when that was the earliest they could get the race. And looking at the weather forecast for Michigan, it didn't look like they were going to get that race in any way.
No, they were not going to get that race until 2 o'clock anyway. Yeah. So this is good now. Good news as Paul Menard runs second. This is good news because this is a track where...
it's nice. Good weather for this race.
Good weather for a race. It's been a good race so far. I think it's been okay.
Hey, Matt Tifft in the top 10. And Corey LaJoie.
Corey LaJoie! LaJoie, our boy. Love Corey LaJoie. Oh, here comes Ryan Newman.
Coming in hot to pit road.
Coming in spicy. That might be a pit road violation right there. Paul Menard goes in. Get hard for Menard. Good day for a lot of cars. Oh, David Reagan's on pit road. Oh, David Reagan's broken something again. This is what happens when you run 3 bad cars. So,
this is what happens when you decline an interview for the Inside Groove.
Speaking of declining interviews for the Inside Groove, let's talk about some folks who would never come on the Inside Groove. Let's talk about the Formula One Grand Prix up at Montreal as we have 22 left to go. So...
yeah, you break it down. You got to watch this race. I didn't.
We talk about over-officiating in NASCAR.
Right. Yeah, this is a perfect topic.
Imagine having
a
win taken away because you
didn't drive the right way.
Imagine the pass in the grass from Dale Earnhart's day.
And NASCAR taking it away because he
passed in the grass because he didn't re-enter the track.
He did not pass in the grass. He kept the lead in the grass.
With the dumbest, not even the dumbest, he overruns a corner.
Yeah. And
it's one of the corners in Montreal where it's like there's only one way to get back on the track. Right. But he did not enter the track safely. Sebastian Vettel leads from lap 1 to lap 70 and loses the race because the stewards, the suits watching the race going, decided to take 5 seconds off him. And what is the dumbest penalty I've ever seen, Nick? And
F1, I think it's a stupid penalty, but I think it fits exactly into what F1 wants to be. And F1 wants to be, we are high-powered technology cars. We are the leaders in technology and efficiency and money.
And it doesn't matter how fast you are.
It doesn't matter if you go fast at all, but you need to stay on the track. You can't touch anybody else. And if the field finishes the way that they qualify, that's perfectly fine. The fastest car won, and there is no challengers.
Except for when the fastest car doesn't win, because Mercedes has paid off F1.
No, they didn't pay off F1. It is F1 saying, we want this to be a suit and tie event where everybody's drinking tea with their pinkies up and celebrating just luxury and fast pieces of technological race cars, and nothing. They don't want racing. They want it to be a spectacle for the upper class, and that's exactly what F1 has become, and that's exactly what they want the sport to be. A driver going off the track and into the grass and keeping the lead is not what F1 wants, because you get dirty going into the grass, Dustin. They're wearing suits. You don't want to get your suit dirty.
It's just such a dumb penalty. My favorite thing at the end of the race is that Sebastian Vettel, he parks the car at the end of pit road, and then he comes down.
Now that was funny.
He feels robbed, so he wins this race, but he doesn't win this race. So he takes the 1
5-second time penalty, which
makes him finish second. So he takes the podium where, in Formula One, you park your cars 1, 2, 3, you park them all next to each other so the media can interview everybody. Right. He takes the first place thing at Lewis Hamilton's car, moves over to the empty spot where his car would be, and walks away. Yeah. And I love it. And it's the type of attitude I want to see from racers, but Corey LaJoie is in 4th place. This is not a drill. Corey LaJoie is in 4th place.
Ryan Preece is in 3rd. But no, I think it's a dumb penalty, but it's F1. This is why I don't watch F1. You can watch F1 qualifying and know the finish of the race. There's no passing.
You can.
The pole winner, unless somebody blows an engine or runs off the track and into the wall, which happens once a season. There's who's going to win on pole day, and the F1 is racing, but I don't know if it's because I grew up on stock car racing, but it does not appeal to me in any way, shape, or form. I'll watch Monaco every year, but and I'll play the F1 racing games. Those are fun too. But F1 is not real racing, if you ask me. So, yeah, I mean, I'm not surprised by the penalty. I'm not mad about the penalty. It's a dumb rule, but F1 is dumb. So
F1 is dumb. We have 16 left to go.
We've talked about. I think that might be the second time we've talked about F1.
I mean, I do want to give it some credit. It was a pretty good race to watch. I watched all 70 laps. It was.
Montreal is awesome.
It's a very good track, and it's one of those tracks where you say there is no passing. There was no passing in the top 2 positions, but McLaren had an issue. McLaren had an issue with their cars.
McLaren is the laughingstock of all motorsports right now.
And McLaren had an issue, but there was it was a good race. It was a good race to watch. Even though I think it's a race where it was clouded by the fact that there could have been a last lap pass for the lead. Lewis Hamilton versus
good finish,
Vettel. It could have been a race that could have had a historic finish, but the stewards took it away. So that penalty's been appealed. We'll see what comes of it.
So with Montreal, and in Montreal, obviously a fantastic road course, one of my favorite road courses on the schedule, and it is not too far from here. Obviously, Montreal just about an hour up the road from here. NASCAR used to race there with the Xfinity Series, and man, there's some really good finishes. I remember Jacques Villeneuve just racing crazily in all those Xfinity races. It was his one shot a year to run one of those Busch Series races. It looks like Joey Logano just ran something over going down the front stretch. But it was his one opportunity a year. He would run everybody off the track. One of the most aggressive drivers I've ever seen, especially for a guy who grew up in F1. And then you'd have like Robbie Gordon, Boris said, those guys would dominate those races, and it'd be so much fun to watch because it's like these are the same cars we see every week, but it's new drivers, a new set of drivers that we only get to see a couple times a year. And man, the racing was a lot of fun. I think NASCAR, if F1 is at NASCAR, F1 is like the highest standard only. There's no reason why NASCAR can't go
no reason why NASCAR shouldn't be there. And I think NASCAR should look and say, hey, we need to send our cars up to this track. It'd be a great market. It's a market where, you want to, tired.
The Michigan race just heating up, Dustin.
Bubba Wallace is in 29th. So
Joey Logano leading Martin Truex by just under a second.
Joey Logano is going to win the damn war.
There's Bubba Wallace. He's in second. Look.
Hey, shut up.
It's actually multiple.
Where's your driver? Huh?
In 11th. Behind by 6.69 seconds. Nice. Anyway, I think NASCAR should definitely go back there. The fans want more road courses. That's what the consensus has been. You go, and on top of getting a road course, you go to a different country. And like you were saying, you made this point on Twitter yesterday. there are NASCAR fans all over New England, all over Quebec. You look at the ACT, the American Canadian Tour is up in Quebec. You know, almost every other race. You have fans of
stock car up there.
There's a lot of stock car racing fans up there. There's a lot of racing fans in Quebec. There's a lot of racing fans in New England that would get to go up there. I mean, you can't tell me that there's people that are just satisfied with one New Hampshire race now. NASCAR going to the Northeast twice. If they added a race at Circuit Gilles Villeneuve, that would be a second race in the Northeast that these NASCAR fans could go to. There's been a lot of gripe up here about how New Hampshire lost a race to Las Vegas. Now, I mean, for race fans in this area, you get one NASCAR race a year at New Hampshire, unless you want to travel to Watkins Glen, Pocono, Dover. Those are all 5+ hour trips that are really tough for the casual fan to make. New Hampshire, from here, 2.5, 3 hours, you can get there, enjoy the race, come back the same day. I've done it multiple times, and it's a lot of fun. It's a great day. You can go, and Montreal's even closer, so you could do that race as well. I think it would be awesome if NASCAR came back, even if it was just for the Truck or Xfinity Series, but I think Cup needs to go there.
I think Joey Logano is going to drive away from this race, but if there's one car that can chase Joey Logano down of 10 to go, it's just that Monster Energy one car. You know, we talk about it at the early part of the show. Who is the better driver right now? He's running third. Just want to point out that Bubba Wallace, even though he is 2 laps down, running hard with the boys up there. Car's got speed, had a top 15 car today.
Yeah, I mean, he was quick as Kurt Busch pulls right up to Truex here.
Kurt Busch has to get Truex.
You got to get him quickly, yeah. And then you got to try to catch up Logano. How about Kyle Busch, though? Kyle Busch has been running in the teens all day long. He's up to 4th now in the final 10 laps. This is the kind of these are the kind of runs that put together a championship season.
Kurt Busch lost it there. I don't think he's going to get it back now. I think Truex will finish second unless if they can chase down Logano.
Yeah, well, and yeah, that could be an interesting point. Kyle Busch is coming in there too. Kyle Busch, I think, might really finish second in this race, actually.
Speaking of Kyle Busch, but you know we got to talk about Kyle Busch.
Oh yes, absolutely. The Biff.
The Biff.
The Biff is back.
The Biff is back, baby.
No race. First time behind the wheel of a race car in a race since 2016.
Were you alive the last time, Nick? Were you alive the last time Greg Biffle won a truck race?
It was 2001. Of course I was alive.
I don't know how old you are. You're young.
I'd take great offense to that. No,
don't remember it anyway.
Greg Biffle's first truck win came when I was 4 months old in May of 2001 at Nazareth Speedway, I believe, or at Phoenix. One of his wins in 1999 was at Nazareth, one of the best old tracks and one of my favorite tracks to run in NASCAR 05 Total Team Control. Great game. I don't know if you ever played it.
Of course I played it.
Okay, good. But Biffle, not a truck winner since 2001. Hasn't been. He lost his Cup ride at the end of 2016. Sat last season out. Sat the season before that out. Comes back, one-off race halfway through the year in 2019 for Kyle Busch Motorsports in the Truck Series, and he wins this. And he wins the thing. Just awesome. I mean, and I think this is more of yet another statement to how bad the drivers are at Kyle Busch Motorsports. And it's cool to see.
How can you be beat by a 50-year-old dude who's been out of a car for 2 years?
Right. But I think it goes back to just showing Greg Biffle is an old school driver who got to the sport based on talent alone. Mm-hmm. And he made a good career out of it, won like 17 or 18 races. And you know, now he gets to go in this series, and I understand there's a lot of wrecks. He probably wouldn't have won this race without all the crashes that happened in the race Friday night at Texas for the Truck Series. But I mean, you put a talented guy, even though he's well past his prime. He'll never be in the Cup Series again, I don't think. But you put a guy who made it just on talent. He's over the hill, but he's there because he's talented. And he beats all the rich kids with sponsorship money.
I like it. I love it.
It's so awesome. The Truck Series is kind of a mess right now anyway. It's littered with drivers like Todd Gilliland and Harrison Burton who are there because they have a name and they have financial
Toyota
backing
money
from their dad and Toyota. And I think it's as apparent now as it is as it has ever been that these crash.
Oh no, we got a caution with 5 to go.
Eric Jones
is in the grass. They did not wave the caution yet.
Aggressive goes around. They've got to wave the caution.
There it is. So Oh,
4 laps to go. We have 6 minutes to go on the show. Zach, we might have to keep our Facebook feed going here. I don't know if that's something that we can do. It is. He gives us the thumbs up, so that's a thumbs up for us. So there's 4 laps to go. We are now under caution. The top 5 is Joey Logano, Martin Truex Jr., Kurt Busch, Kyle Busch, Alex Bowman. Bowman's worked his way up there as well.
Oh, bud, we're going to have a finish
we're going to have ourselves a finish here. Restarts have been awesome all day. Cars are bunched up for the first 10 or so laps on the restarts.
Know who's in 4th place?
4th place is Kyle Busch.
Kyle Busch, baby.
I think he's got a chance here. Both these Busch brothers are getting it done. Is this a...
Rick Jones just loses a tire.
Ooh, a NASCAR forced caution.
Oh, no. Oh, he's got it. He doesn't have it anymore.
He could have saved that. He wants Martin Truex to win.
He couldn't save. He lost it. He hit the apron, loses the tire.
He was in a straight line. He was going like 20 miles per hour, and then he just sat there. I don't know, man.
I just want to say, this was going to... So, you guys, if you're watching my facial reactions
that's a conspiracy theory right there. Is that Joe Gibbs Racing...
No, I don't think it is.
Spun the car that has already had problems.
I think Truex and Kyle Busch... I think Truex was getting ready to make the pass. I think Truex was going to win this race on speed. Yeah. I think this actually hurts.
Logano was the better car short run.
Logano was the better car short run. Truex had gotten into about bumper to bumper.
But you never know. Okay, so the lineup is going to be, well, we'll see what Logano chooses. You'd have to think Logano would choose the outside here. So Kurt Busch would be stuck behind Truex, and because then Busch would be if Truex got the outside there, Kyle Busch and him would just...
So your top 10 going to overtime is going to be Logano, Truex, Busch, Bowman, Suarez, Harvick, Keselowski, Hemrick, and Blaney.
Good run for Hemrick. Chase Elliott in 11th, coming back from that flat tire earlier in stage 3. Chris Buescher still in 13th. William Byron, Mr. Vanilla, 14th. So Martin Truex, Joey Logano have finished 1, 2, 4 times.
The big 3 from last year are 1, 2, and 4. Remember when we were hearing? Remember when we
the big 3 from last year? The big 3 from last year is 2, 4, and 7. Truex.
No, not Keselowski. It was Harvick. Harvick was the 3rd one.
Yeah, I said 7.
Okay, so I guess I said it wrong. 4 of the last in the top 3 right now.
Dustin is out on a limb.
3 of the last playoff cars last year.
Call the fire department. Dustin's on a limb.
What?
So
that was awful.
We have NASCAR overtime coming up. In this caution, let's talk about the IndyCar race at Texas. And a certain driver, Max Chilton, has decided that he isn't going to run IndyCar ovals anymore because he feels they're too dangerous. A, do we revoke his man card? And B, do we revoke his IndyCar license? I think that we do.
No.
Come on.
I think it's fine. Are
you kidding me? If you are, you know what you're signing up for with this.
No, you don't, because practice speeds at tracks like Texas and Indy are 10 miles per hour. Wow, Fox really getting in that pre-overtime commercial break. What a joke. They are milking us for every ad. Wow.
Fox is bad. We're an anti-Fox.
Well,
we're bringing back the sunshine here on the Inside Group.
I think... NBC.
But no, I don't like this. I think if you sign up to be an IndyCar driver, you sign up for the ovals and the road course races. If you don't want that, go race IMSA.
No, I think if you sign up for the ovals, and the ovals are safe, with the exception of Indianapolis, that's the traditional race where it's like if you die, you die. But at a track like Texas, we saw it at Las Vegas a couple years ago, the Dan Weldon crash. Like it's one of those things where
it's tough.
And then last year, Robert Wickens at Pocono, he's paralyzed. I think ovals are not safe for IndyCar. If I'm an IndyCar driver and I'm not in the top 5 for a chance of the championship, I say, what do I gain out of running this oval in Texas?
Yeah, but I think that IndyCar is going to be trending towards more ovals anyway, because you look at Texas, historically one of the better races. Compare that to Long Beach, when, just one of the worst races I've ever watched in my life. IndyCar is in a dilemma because the best racing comes at the ovals, but the ovals are also super dangerous.
Not safe, and I think it's one of those things where... And I will get murdered by IndyCar fans for saying this, but do you think about a restrictor plate? Do you think about slowing the cars down? I think if you say to IndyCar, you slow the cars down to 180, 85 miles per hour at the ovals. I think that makes them safe enough where with safety improvements, you won't see a death often. You know, I think that's what. 30 seconds to say goodbye. All right,
so
people.
If you're watching on cable, go to Northwest Access TV's Facebook page right now, or the Inside Groove Facebook page right now to watch the end of the FireKeepers Casino 400 with us. If you don't want to do that, have a good night. We hope you find out about who won the race soon. Thanks to all of our people watching on cable. This is the Inside Groove on Northwest Access TV. So we are here going to overtime for the FireKeepers Casino 400 at Michigan. Joey Logano's the race leader. Truex Jr. second, Kurt Busch third, Kyle Busch fourth, Alex Bowman in fifth. So we're coming up, we'll have overtime, which is green, white, checkered, I believe are still the rules of that, more or less. But getting back to IndyCar here as we wait for them to go green as Fox goes back to yet another commercial break. I think that it's a tough dilemma for IndyCar, and you got to go. I think that you almost have to consider the restrictor plate everywhere but Indy. You don't mess with Indy with the Indy 500.
No, I don't think so. But I think if you're IndyCar and you're looking to make it safe and you want to add more ovals, you say, okay, let's make it so we, I don't want to say drop it down by 10 miles per hour. Drop it down 10, 15 miles per hour. That could be the difference between saving a life or not. They just started a package. Darrell Waltrip's last race is coming up in a couple weeks. He will be done after that.
It's sad that there's no NASCAR racing until June 23rd.
Yes, there is.
Well, other than
Iowa. Iowa!
Is Iowa
Don't
a short
you love
track?
the cornfields? No.
Come on.
Matt Weaver and I agree on this. Iowa is not a short track. It is grandfathered. It is an intermediate oval where it's a 1 point miler.
Okay, sure.
Iowa's not a short track. We lost our cable viewers, right, Zach?
Okay, so goodbye to our cable viewers. Hello to our viewers on Facebook Live, whether you're watching on the Northwest Access TV page or the Inside Groove page, our brand new Facebook. First time ever airing the Inside Groove on the Inside Groove Facebook page. So tune in, and it looks like we have one live viewer right now on the Inside Groove
Nick,
Facebook.
you need to get us more people to watch the show.
We're working on it.
Nick, you need more friends.
Can you calm down right now?
I got us 10 likes this afternoon.
Yeah, you did. How
many likes did you get us this afternoon?
About 40.
We have 60 likes now. Thank you.
Yeah. So we have a 2-lap shootout coming up for NASCAR overtime. If the leader takes the white flag, the next flag ends the race. As Bill Weber, we have
2-3 minutes.
It'll be probably about 2 or 3 minutes.
Unless if a car gets wrecked. So, Zach asking questions out back there.
Zach is asking us 20 questions right now. As Bill Weber used to say, there are 16 scoring data loops around the track. That's one you haven't heard in a while.
I have not heard that one in a while.
So, Credit One Bank overtime here.
I want someone to spin.
I don't know why we're...
Joey Logano, he's going.
Logano gets the good start. Kyle Busch behind him. Truex Jr. is in second. Truex moves up high.
He's blogging.
They head towards turn 1 at breakneck speed. Seems like it takes forever for him to get there. They're 4 wide for third place. Somebody going
that's not
way
gonna
up
fit.
top
That's
on
not
the
gonna
outside.
fit. Who is that?
Suarez.
It's
Suarez way up there. Kyle Busch moved into the middle. Truex Jr., Kurt Busch, and Joey Logano leading. It's now a 4-car breakaway. Big push from Keselowski to get Suarez up there.
Danny Suarez driving like he don't have a contract next year.
Which he does not yet. Kurt Busch up to second, trying to pull up onto to Logano here, and he's doing it. Kurt Busch moving in. Logano is
Question
there.
is, can Kurt Busch get a good enough run?
Lap.
He's got to get
Logano
the run.
The leader.
He's going to block.
Looks outside. Busch, they dive down into turn 1. Last lap of the FireKeepers 400 at Michigan.
What is a FireKeeper?
I think it's a casino.
Oh, is it?
So Logano's got the lead by about a car length right now. It's going to take a lot for Busch to get there. He needs help, I think, and Truex is about 3 car lengths back. Busch moves in a little bit as they dive into 3. Nobody else. It's down to Busch, Logano, Busch, or Truex. Joey Logano
is going to win the race. It's going to be Kurt Busch.
Busch bobs and weaves, cuts to the inside, but it's not enough right there at the end. A photo finish at Michigan. Really good race overall.
Very good race. Some top finishers.
This is what we wanted to see, yeah.
Joey Logano has a good finish winning. Obviously, Kurt Busch with second place, proving again, most valuable driver of CGR.
Yeah.
Truex Suarez.
Top 5 for him.
Best of the Stuart Haas cars, Daniel Suarez.
Kyle Busch didn't have a good car. I think it's apparent. He outdrove that car a lot today, especially looking at that last restart.
Brian Newman, Rocket Man, the top 10. Alex Bowman at 8th.
So Joey Logano, this is his second win of the year, correct?
This is his second win of the year.
Logano, win number 2.
Computer boy.
Looks like he's going to be headed to the, looks like he's a major contender for a repeat championship this year. Just got a great start on the outside on the restart. Kyle Busch didn't even have the opportunity to help him there. So good finish there for that race. That's what we wanted to see. So thank you guys for tuning in with us as we did a little bit of a different show this week. We got some cool stuff in the works next week. We're working on Tommy Joe Martin's Xfinity Racer. He should be on.
We'd love to see him.
We'll talk to him about racing in for a smaller team and what that is like as he runs in the Xfinity Series for BJ McLeod Motorsports. And we will get that next week, Monday night, 7 o'clock, same time. Inside Groove TV Facebook page and Northwest Access TV, and on cable on Channel 15 Northwest Access TV. Once again, we thank our sponsors, Handy GMC, Buick Cadillac, and Taberge Beef for helping us out, making tonight's episode possible. For Zach helping us out with a long-running show tonight. Dustin, I am Nick.
Oh, I'm not supposed to stand up yet? I thought we were clear.
Nice.
Hi,
nice.
Bye. I'm out of here.
Very smooth by Dustin Tanner. Thanks for watching, everybody. We'll see you next week right here. It's the Inside Groove.
I thought